All right, welcome back to Clown Town. More shenanigans straight from the source of all insanity, San Francisco. And the SF Gate brings up this story from the summer of 2021, just before greasy Gavin Newsom beat the recall. And this is an apparent attempt at, debunking claims of mail-in voter fraud or something like that. But we all know that there was no, quote, widespread voter fraud in this particular recall election, which only leaves us with the unfortunate reality that Californians, just like New Yorkers, have been successfully brainwashed into constantly voting for provably corrupt political hacks and against their own best interest at every single level. The never-been-told story behind the passed-out man found with 300 California recall ballots. So I'm sure you remember the cops found this guy sleeping inside of his car outside of a 7-Eleven or something like that in Southern California. He had a whole bunch of drugs, pills, guns, weapons, whatever. And they are now trying to convince us that we shouldn't be worried about it. It's just regular old crime, run-of-the-mill identity and mail theft, and it's definitely not going to stop anybody from blanketing the whole state with mail-in ballots. Early signs, the multiple driver's licenses and credit cards, pointed to the case being one of stolen mail, identity theft, and bank fraud, which is precisely what investigators found. See, we knew it the whole time. We found it very precisely. In November, the suspect, 34-year-old Eduardo Mina, was charged with bank fraud and identity theft, with the police department putting out a statement last week noting that, quote, investigators have not uncovered any evidence indicating Mina intended to engage in any type of election fraud and alleging that Mina stole the mail from a postal service vehicle. So there you have it. You heard it here first. He wasn't trying to steal an election. He was just committing regular crime. Everybody needs to calm down. The incident highlights the difficulty reporting on incidents involving mail-in ballots without fueling conspiracy theories that widespread voter fraud has actually changed the results of contests, such as the 2020 presidential election. So now they are basically saying that reporting the news is a conspiracy theory, and they are using a story of a man found sleeping in his car with 300 recall mail-in ballots, guns, and weapons to say that, look, there's no evidence of election fraud. I mean, yeah, he had all these ballots, but that was just a byproduct of the other crimes he was committing, and we should definitely still blanket the entire state, if not the whole country, with mail-in ballots. For your safety, of course. It's not because chaos works in our favor or that it might actually be the end goal altogether. And in a piece of unrelated news, just to prove that Californians will never learn the lesson, Sonoma County issues a voluntary stay-at-home order, bans large gatherings in response to Omicron. So they're going to do everything they already did again because it worked so well the first time. And now it's voluntary, which I guess is better than a mandatory stay-at-home order where they lock you inside the house and put Fauci outside to stand guard and make sure you don't go anywhere because he wants to save you so hard. And how do we know that it's the Omarion? The test is not actually going to tell you, but these people have been so irreversibly damaged that they are now standing outside of questionable COVID testing. Amid Omicron fears, a questionable COVID testing group is popping up around San Francisco. Now, me personally, I always thought the tests were unreliable at their very best, but people have been so whipped up into a frenzy that they don't even know what's going on anymore. They're standing outside of phony testing sites because I guess the TV told them that they need to get a test. I'm not really sure. I mean, do you feel sick? And this is kind of like if you buy fake Air Jordans, it's like, well, it's made by the same kids, but it wasn't made in the Nike factory. So I'd feel better if you made it still with the slave labor, but at least in the Nike factory, because we know that they have a little bit better materials. So now in San Francisco, they're trying to say that a man sleeping in his car with 300 mail-in ballots is proof that there is no election fraud and that the renewed stay-at-home orders are now going to stop the virus, and we all need to get tested, even if it's by a phony testing facility.